All right, so the third issue then that our book wants us to consider is philosophy, right? How does Fideist relate to philosophy? And so critiquing the God of the philosophers is what they call this particular section, right? And so they tell us that the inability of human reason to make a rational, coherent account of the paradoxes of the Trinity, and especially the incarnation, expose a serious limitation for philosophy from a Fideist perspective, right? Fideists do not necessarily reject philosophy outright, but they do cordon it off, right, from theology in the sharpest possible way. And moreover, they reject the project of developing a Christian philosophy, whether conceived of as a foundation, right, or a companion or product of Christian theology, right? So they are not going to do like we see these traditional methods with regard to philosophy.
Yeah, yeah, it's something that we should take seriously, because when we talk about like the character of God, and we talk about how he speaks, he acts, we almost kind of put him within the realm of creation, and we put like a time variable to him and say like, okay, he started his sentence, he finished his sentence, but that would mean that God is subject to time, and we're going to say that he transcends that. So if we're unable to talk about existence devoid of time, that's more of a limitation on us than on the possibility of that limitation being removed from us. So the Fideist view of philosophy was clearly anticipated by Martin Luther. And so we talk about Martin Luther as kind of like that middle proto-Fideist. We talked about Tertullian, and we talked about Martin Luther as well, and said that he kind of exhibited the qualities that people like Kierkegaard and Barth would later kind of solidify. So Martin Luther, the seemingly irrationality of the gospel message cannot, Luther concludes, be overcome by developing a superior philosophy. Rather, Luther insists that philosophy must be completely separated from theology, lest the gospel that theology seeks to propound be corrupted. And you might not agree with the aspect of Fideism here, but there are a number of philosophers and theologians and people that write about Christianity where they have their model, and it's almost like they argue from their model up to God. And that's one of the critiques that I think presuppositionalism does well, is we want to start with the Bible and go from there. And it seems like a lot of times the model is what wins out, and then you change what you know or understand or what's been known or understood about the scriptures to make it fit your model. And I think that's where Luther is making a really valid point here, because we've kind of seen it enacted out in people who write even today. He goes on to say that philosophy deals with matters that are understood by human reason. Theology deals with matters of belief, that is, matters which are apprehended by faith.
Right. Right. And so our book tells us that, there is some evidence in Kierkegaard's writings that he was not totally opposed to philosophy per se. But what Kierkegaard does, though, is he uses the critical tools of philosophy, they tell us, to show that philosophy cannot be used to prove or defend the rationality of Christianity. Philosophy has its uses, but it cannot help us in our relationship with the living God. Right. Again, this is a personal relationship with a person is what he's focusing on. And so, having philosophical categories, doesn't help with regard to a personal relationship.
And it's been more than a couple episodes since I mentioned the other book that I tend to mention with this, which is the Counterpoint series of the 5 views of Christian apologetics. And in it, one of them is Reformed epistemology. So not quite Fideism, but in it, it seems that philosophy has a point in that it's to downgrade and denigrate and to defeat different types of argumentation against the Christian worldview. So using its own system of philosophy against itself to knock down those ones as a point of delineation between the Christian faith and then theology. So that kind of separation can be seen there. So there's my plug for the other book that I've held down for probably 2 episodes before mentioning that one. So.